welcome to the Insatiable Ones podcast.
Here we are at the Bull and Gate on the sofa with David Barnett, minor indie celebrity who toured with Morrissey and Art Brut. Just a quick question to start us off, did the opportunity ever arise for you to tour with Suede?
Not in a musical capacity. Obviously I toured with Suede lots, and when I was in bands at the time I think I dropped several hints, but they never really took them. But several members of the band did come to see some of my bands over the years.
So. Who came to see you?
Richard came to see Guernica. He came to see us at the Water Rats, and Matt came to see the Boyfriends at the 100 Club. And I remember after that he actually sent a text message saying Sid Vicious was reborn before my eyes this evening, which I'm not sure whether that's a compliment or a massive insult, because obviously Sid Vicious is, apart from being famous for murdering his girlfriend and being a heroin addict, is probably best famous for having no musical ability whatsoever on the bass. But it was nice of him to come.
What did you say to him?
I said, thanks very much, mate.
I think that was a compliment.
Yeah, I think so. And how do you feel about Brett's memoirs? Did you expect him to...
It's quite a surprise because it just kind of came out of nowhere, but I'm really excited about them. I mean, I guess from a personal point of view, it's either going to be great for me because it will rekindle interest in the other Suede book, or it could mean that nobody ever needs to buy my one ever again. But the one thing that's quite good about it is it means it'll stop people saying, when are you going to write the next bit? Because he's going to do it for me, and I'm sure he'll do a much better job. And it's going to be quite interesting because I think, I think he'll tell us stuff. It'll be a very interesting, different angle from the well-known Suede story that's kind of been done to death a bit now. So I'm very, very excited about it. That Douglas Copeland quote is amazing, isn't it? I don't know how he got to read it, but if it's half as good as that, it sounds like it's going to be quite interesting.
The whole process, the whole fact that they had this book, they didn't know who'd written it, and they were like, "Yep, we want to publish it," and yet they didn't know it was Brett until after as well. Yeah.
Would there not have been a few clues, like then I formed this band called Suede and we did quite well in the 90s?
I'm sure in the original quote
they had no idea who it was.
They didn't know initially who it was.
I think it'll be quite good because I think it's got, Brett's story's got quite a nice narrative arc, if you'll excuse the revolting expression, because I love rock biographies, and that is why it was really exciting doing the Suede one, because I wanted it to be kind of like all my favourite rock biographies, and I pulled a lot of ideas from lots of favourites that I'd done. But in recent times, I kind of see there being two different kinds of especially autobiographies, rock autobiographies. So you've got ones like Morrissey, where they're really sort of self-aggrandising, where it is just him going on about how hard done by he was and how he's brilliant. And it's basically shattering all your notions of your hero. And then you've got the other ones where they start off at one point and become famous, it goes a bit wrong, and then they come out of the other end kind of a better person. So ones like that, I would say, are the Viv Albertine book, which is brilliant. I don't know if you've read that. Close, music, boys. Probably the best one I've read recently. And that's really nice because she kind of has this, short flash of success and fame. Then it all goes horribly wrong, but she kind of discovers herself as a person and comes out the other end brilliantly. And it's an amazing book. And another one like that is the Steve Jones biography, the Sex Pistols guitarist. And that's a great one as well because the Sex Pistols burnt brightly but very briefly. And then he ended up kind of being stranded in America, homeless and a heroin addict. And it was quite a tragic story, but now he's this well-loved DJ with his own radio show in LA, and he's really kind of emerged from the whole ordeal as a stronger person. And I think Brett's story fits much more into that than the whiny Morrissey or kind of John Lydon type, where it's, I'm so great. So I'm really looking forward to it for those reasons.
It's going to be much more personal and emotional than we've ever seen him before, I think. So, yeah, it's good.
And does a recording exist of Strangelove covering Flash Boy and Suede covering She's Everywhere?
That's a little bit of a leap, isn't it? No, I don't think it does. I don't think either of them do. It was in Spain when they did it, and it was a kind of one-off thing they both did for a laugh. And it was at a point where neither of them were particularly successful. It was at the kind of arse end of the Dogman Star tour when they kept going back to Europe, and they just did it. The first I knew of it was I went to see them in Blackpool, and it was before I was officially working for them, but I'd kind of started doing stuff, writing for the fan club magazine, and so I was getting invited to sound checks and things like that. And I remember seeing a set list that had Spacey Vibe thing written on the set list, and I was very excited because I thought it was a new Suede song. And I was like, what's Spacey Vibe thing? What's that? I've never heard of that one. And I think it was probably Matt, actually. I think he said, "Oh, no, that's we just covered a Strangelove song for a laugh." And at that point, it was before they'd recorded that, and it was still called Spacey Vibrating. But as you probably know, it became She's Everywhere, and I think that's the one Brett ends up singing on the recorded version. But there's no, I think if there was a recording of it, it would have emerged by now. So
Yeah.
sadly, you'll just have to imagine it. The other thing I tell you what, the other thing I remember about that set list was that on the set list, instead of So Young, it said Sir Young.
Sir Young?
Yeah, because somebody had I think probably a local journalist or something had misheard the name of the song, so it said Sir Young on it. That's a hilarious story there, but there you go.
With the fan base, have you noticed, obviously with social media and Facebook and Instagram, have you noticed obviously like a shift in a growing kind of fan base at gigs, or have you, since the early days, or I don't know how it's changed, it must have, I don't know, and different age groups as well, has it kind of always been varied, or would you, I don't know if you noticed?
Well, a change in, I don't know, I guess it's quite interesting having come from a kind of pre-digital age. So when I did it, everybody made fanzines, and that was literally cutting things out onto bits of paper, typing them up in your bedroom and sticking them together and photocopying them secretly at work, or getting your mum to do it or something like that. And everybody would make these fanzines. It was quite a labour of love, but there was loads, and we would all just advertise in the back of the NME and sell them outside gigs. And I think at one point Suede had more fanzines than any other band in Britain, I think. And there was actually a fanzine called Donna's Directory, which was like a catalogue. There were so many fanzines, you could buy a fanzine that was just about the fanzines, which is kind of bizarre. Wow. And I guess now there's no point in making a fanzine because everybody can publish their opinions instantly on social media. But it's different. But that's why, things like the Insatiable Ones Facebook group is nice, because it gives everybody a chance to do it. So I don't know, it's nice to see both. I think Suede have always had quite a varied fan base, but I guess the thing is now there's a lot more older people because there's all the original fans. But the thing that's nice is that there are a lot of people who weren't even born when they were around the first time.
Yeah.
I meet Suede fans quite a lot, and I'm chatting away, and something will come up, and then it'll emerge that they were 3 years old when Trash came out or something.
Well, I think I was
which is quite scary, but it's nice as well. I think the thing is, it's odd. I remember when I was when I was a teenager and I was really, really obsessed with music. I remember very clearly when it was 20 years since Sgt. Pepper had come out, and that seemed like a massive long time ago. And I don't know if it was because the 60s was all in black and white, but I remember thinking, wow, 20 years since an album came out, that's so long. Imagine that. It's impossible even to conceive. And now it's 21 years since Coming Up came out yesterday or whatever, and that to me feels like, I wouldn't say it feels like yesterday, but it feels like about 10 years ago, not 20.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if it was the same for the Beatles fans in 1987, thinking, I can't believe it's that quick. But I think I've gone a little bit far away from the original question now, but I can't quite remember what it was.
No, we want as much information from you as possible. What would you say is your favourite gig?
My favourite Suede gig?
Yeah, favourite Suede gig.
It's really difficult to. It's like saying what's your favourite song, and I think a lot of it. There's the one that you think is the best, or the one that kind of means most to you personally. There's a few that come to mind. I think I do remember being really disappointed the first time I saw them, which might seem strange. I went to see them at, I can't even remember what venue it was. I think it was in Glasgow, and it was almost to the day that the first album came out. And I wasn't really that impressed, which was weird because I really loved them, the first two singles in particular I loved. But then I joined the fan club, and I went to the fan club gig at the LA2, which has since been destroyed to make way for Crossrail. And that was brilliant. I really, that was because I think that's the first time I kind of felt like I met the the hardcore loonies like you lot there and myself.
Was the first gig like? Was there not many people in the audience?
I think there was a lot. There was a lot of. It was still at the stage where there was a lot of people, with crossed arms, going, "I'm not really sure about this," and I was kind of one of them as well. And I think it was maybe just the fact that when I went to the fan club gig, it was in London, so it's their hometown. I hadn't been to London very often. It was really exciting just going there. It was a really intimate gig. It was obviously going to be really special. It was about Christmas. We knew they were going to play a lot of new songs. Bernard came on with his Santa hat, and I think all the parents were there watching from the balcony and all this kind of stuff. So that was really exciting. The other thing was as well that instead of having a support band, they had Suede karaoke, which was Bernard's idea, I believe, and they just took the backing tracks that they used when they mimed on TV, but Brett sang live, and so you could put your name down. And I remember kind of being really, really wanting to do it, but also being terrified of the idea of doing it, and then thinking, oh fuck it, I'll go for it. I'm never going to get the chance to sing live on stage again, I thought at the time, and I did it, and it was great. It was really exciting, and that was quite liberating, I think. And then it was it was something quite magical about, obviously Suede weren't there, but they were playing, even though it was a recording, and I was singing. It was so young I did, and the kids were going. It went really well, and I was really excited. And the funny thing about that was, everybody there was kind of like, oh, you're going to win, it was brilliant. And then this guy, who I actually know now quite well, a guy called Gary Prosser, who he's in Ballroom. He turned up, they'd nearly finished the karaoke, and then Gary turned up, and he came on and he kind of tied his shirt in a knot to show his navel, and he had the hair and everything. And he brought these two people on who at the time I thought were his friends, but in fact he'd just met them there, and he had them miming as Bernard and Matt. So it looked incredible, I must say, I was all right, but he was fantastic. And I think he did Metal Mickey or something like one of the hits. And it was brilliant. And that to me, I remember all that as much as the gig. So that was really, really exciting.
And he won.
He won, and deservedly so. He was.
What
brilliant.
did he win?
I just won a whole load of Suede stuff. Wow. But actually, there is a postscript, because Wendy, who ran the Suede Information Service at the time, sent me a massive package of stuff later. I think I got a signed symbol, which is a really impractical present, because they weigh a ton. So it must have cost them about 50 quid to send it to Scotland. It's in my mum's dining room.
Is it not under your bed?
It's not under my bed.
Everything's under his bed.
It's in my mum's dining room. I actually saw it. I've just come back from Scotland and it's still there. So yeah, that was really good. And a very special one was the next one I saw, which was the Edinburgh Queen's Hall, and that was the last Bernard gig, and it was great. It was really great. It's funny because the band hated it, because there was obviously a lot of tension, but because of that, it made it very different from a regular gig. So normally, especially with the first one I saw, when it's the album gig, they're quite polished. There's not really any surprises. They're doing the set that they do on the whole tour, and it's like that, and there's no mistakes or anything. Whereas the Edinburgh one, you didn't know what was going to happen. Somebody would storm off and then come back on, and then there was loads of things that I remember. There was one gap when I think Brett started singing some Scottish song, like "You take the high road," or "Take the high road and I take the low road," or something like that, and got the audience singing along to kind of make up for the gap. Yeah. And then there was a bit where people started shouting Simon's name, and then he started a chant of "There's only one Simon Gilbert," which was really exciting, But I can understand for the band, it was like, this is terrible, but for us it was great. And the other great thing about that was, it was the time we all sneaked in, watched the sound check, and they were doing Stone Roses covers and things like that. I mean, not the whole songs, but bits of them. And then afterwards we kind of managed. And then I met the band, and that's when it all began.
Wasn't that the day that you'd seen Simon off the bus and given him the fanzine?
That is absolutely correct.
And then he took it on the bus.
Yeah.
Then Brett said, "Who's David Barnett?"
He took it on the bus.
So lovely.
And I you know, bear in mind, I'm a country bumpkin from the sticks, and I never met anybody remotely famous before. And by that point, I was really obsessed by Suede. I absolutely adored them. I thought they were brilliant. And Simon came off the bus, and that was just, oh my God, it's Simon Gilbert. I can't believe it. You know what it's like, yeah? And
Nah.
and I remember him actually. He complimented me on I was wearing an Adam and the Ants badge that said "Whipping My Valise," which is an early Adam Ant song that I really like. And he said, "Oh, I like your badge. And I was, you can have it." So, and then he disappeared with the fanzine, and there was quite a big gang of us. Because it was a Saturday, so we were just hanging out all day, and somebody had brought a guitar and we were singing songs outside. It was a really happy atmosphere. And then Brett kind of came off, and it was really scary, actually. You know, he's got a lot of charisma, and he's quite an intimidating person. And especially then, it was kind of that sort of vampire time. He had the big long black coat and his hair with that weird streak in it that he said was just the sun, and then all these females who wrote to Suave and Elegant said, "That's not the sun, that's I know about hair," and this and he came off and he kind of, you know, went, "All right, which one are you?" Notice David down like that. And it's kind of like, it's like Oliver Twist when it's who's the one who's got to ask for more, and then it's like, "Sorry, sir, it was me." Because the whole thing about Suave and Elegant, the fanzine I did, was that there was loads of fanzines already. It wasn't the first one by any means, but they were all quite straight, and I felt, you know, Suede is not a straight band.
No.
So I wanted it to be a bit more feisty and opinionated,
and quirky.
So and there was bits where it was quite rude and took the piss, and so I kind of thought, you might not like this, but he went, "Oh, this is great," and come back and meet us and all this kind of stuff. So it was an absolute dream come true, and that's very special for that reason. But I did really enjoy the gig as well, and the funny thing was as well, you know, the obvious question afterwards was, where's Bernard? And they all kind of went, he's gone off to the hotel. And so I could tell from that point that there was something a bit weird going on. You could tell from watching the gig. But to go on with the best gigs, I think the other great one that I really remember is the Albert Hall big comeback gig at the Teenage Cancer Trust gig, and the bit, you know, when they did Metal Mickey and
2010.
We're not finished yet, and it was that, I thought that was great, because that was a double entendre if ever there was one, you know, we're not finished yet, and that was they've still got it. It was great.
Did you predict that happening and coming back again?
Well, I had an inkling, because I had no idea they were getting back together at all. Mm-hmm. They kept it really quiet. I mean, I hadn't really spoken to any of them for a long time. I think the last I kind of did some stuff with Matt in about 2008, and it was 2010 they came back, wasn't it? So I hadn't really heard from any of them for a couple of years. And I remember, in fact, the first inkling I got was a guy from Music Week who was doing kind of music gossip for The Sun. He got in touch and said, "Is it true Suede are getting back together?" And I said, "No." You know, which because there was loads of these rumours had come up again and again, and it was usually because Suzanne de Bronker, or whatever his name is, you know, the American Suede, she would book a gig and put tickets on sale, so it would kind of, you know, these automated algorithms would say Suede playing gig, or
still doesn't.
So I thought it was that, and it wasn't that, and then I knew it was going to be good, because I ended up they must have been desperate, because I ended up getting asked to sell t-shirts at the warm-up gig at the 100 Club, and that was great as well. And I was kind of, I don't know if this is going to be any good, you know, it's 7 or whatever years on, and it feels like they should let it lie. And then I remember, kind of being quite cynical and just standing behind the t-shirt stall. And then about 5 songs in, I was standing on top of the merch table, slapping my arse, clapping, and going, "Oh my God, it's amazing! I love it!" It's hilarious.
I read. Oh, we had a little break.
Okay, are we on?
We're on.
Hello, viewers.
And I read today in an interview, and the shame of me for only learning it today is that you designed the Gay Animal Sex T-shirt.
That is correct. Well, design is probably a little bit too grandiose a term. I said you should have a T-shirt that says Gay Animal Sex on it. After I met them, I kind of met Charlie, the manager, and a few other people in the crew and stuff, and I can't remember what happened first actually. I think there was a very magical moment when I got invited for this kind of powwow with Brett in Glasgow when they played the Barrowlands, and that's when they officially said, "Do you want to start writing for the magazine, because we're having problems filling it up, because Wendy's really busy doing all the PA stuff." So I was doing that, but I'm not sure at what point they said that I was kind of submitting other things, but there was a point where it was, "Have you got any T-shirt ideas?"
You did the head music badge as well, didn't you?
Yeah, but that was much later. That was when I was actually working for them. But at that point, I was still, I was still working in insurance in in Perth in Scotland, and I think they asked. They'd said they thought that a lot of the t-shirt designs were a bit boring, and did I have any ideas? And I came up with loads of ideas. In fact, I must give credit to my little brother Andy Barnett, because he and I kind of sketched out loads of things together, and there was loads that weren't used. Like there was a Modern Boys one that was kind of had the mod target on it, and the arrow like that, and things like that. But that's obviously, it was quite blurry, which
oh god,
which
yeah.
And then there was the other one was, I just thought it would be great to have a t-shirt that says "Gay Animal Sex" on it, because it was around that there was this period where places like Topshop had just started putting out t-shirts with quite controversial slogans on. I can't remember any examples, but it'd just be things like tart or something like that on them. And I thought it'd be quite nice to have something a bit cheeky and in your face. And especially, I felt at that point Suede were kind of being written off, and I basically thought it would be great to have a t-shirt that just kind of went "fuck you." So the thing I thought would be great would be to say "Gay Animal Sex," because how do you answer that? This kind of proud and very kind of at the time outrageous. It's funny how at that time it was really outrageous. I mean, I remember wearing it and getting quite a lot of stick from people. But that was one of the first ones, and the other one they did. I thought it'd be great to have a t-shirt with Flash Boy on. And unfortunately, when the reality of that was, it looked like a massive tent. It was a massive tent that just said Flash Boy, and that was rubbish. That was a bit of a wasted opportunity. But a really, really magical moment I remember was the first time that they had. In fact, the t-shirts arrived late, I think, because the first time that the Gay Animal Sex t-shirt went on sale was at the Albert Hall the first time around in about May 95, which was really near the end of that whole campaign. I think after that they played a few more, and Phoenix was the end of it in July, so it was really near the end, so it kind of got there a bit too late. But I remember being in the Albert Hall, and Sam Cunningham walked in wearing a Gay Animal Sex t-shirt. I just about shat myself. It was really, really thrilling. They're going, "Oh my god, it's Brett's girlfriend wearing my t-shirt." That was great. It was really great, and she really sued it.
I was going to say,
not many other people could carry it off, because the original one was tiny. It was really skinny fit type as they all were in those days. It was very similar to, I don't know if you remember, there was an Elastica t-shirt that said, there was like the Vaseline jar that said Elastica instead of Vaseline.
Yeah.
And it was kind of, I think they probably used the same suppliers, because it was really similar to that. And that was the first version of it. But then they did do a second edition, which was a little bit more wearable, because the first one I remember getting it and it kind of sliced my armpits. It was so tight. But that was great, and that was the first that I actually got paid for that. It was the first thing I got paid for by Suede, and that was quite, I felt, this is cooking into something here. So that was nice. And I remember really enjoying that gig as well. That was, but I think they were quite tired by that time and just wanted to get on with the next record.
Do you have a favourite single artwork design?
Single artwork design? I like the Drowners. I think that's a really, that was, I think when I saw them on the chart show and then went to the shop the same day and bought it, it felt like it was there was a bit more going on. There was obviously some thought had gone into the image, and it kind of tied into the lyrics, and that it mentions there's a gun, isn't there? There's a gun, when someone gave me a gun, so it felt a bit like it had something to do with that. And then the fact that it was obviously a woman dressed as a man and was kind of nude, that fitted in with some of the other lyrics, and so it felt that there was a bit more thought had gone into it than just a photo of the band. And I thought, this is worthy of further investigation.
And can we ask you, because we want to play some Suede songs as well, what your favourite song is from each album?
You can. From the album or from the album period?
From an album.
Yeah.
From an album, okay.
We'll go with that.
Right, okay. Well, from the first album, So Young, probably.
Yeah.
I really like The Drowners as well, but I think So Young probably is my favourite of that. That was the first one. The weird thing about about the first album for me was that I'd been a fan for so long by then. It was about a year after hearing them the first time, that by the time the album came out, it was kind of a bit old hat, you know, because they'd done all these Mark Goodyear sessions, and loads of their early gigs were played in full on the radio. So there was only a couple of songs that we hadn't heard before when it came out. And I think a lot of people would agree that some of the songs didn't sound nearly as good as they had done in the session versions and the live versions. I mean, if you saw the Goodyear version of Moving was great, and if you saw them do Animal Lover live, it was great. And on the album, it was a bit flat.
Yeah.
And we'd heard Sleeping Pills, pretty much everything. I think the only new ones really were She's Not Dead and Breakdown and So Young. And I thought, but So Young was the one I thought, yeah, that's great, that's brilliant. This is the best one yet. I really like the piano in it. It's lovely. And it's got that great kind of coda that Suede are really good at. So that was exciting. Second album. So many to choose.
I know, but I'm going to make you choose.
I think I've said it before, but I think the best one, my favourite one. There's a difference between the best one and my favourite one.
What's the best one?
I don't know. I'm not going to say, because people will disagree with me, of course, as they should, because everybody's got their own favourites. But I think The Two of Us is great. That's a really great song that I think is. There's a lot of Suede songs I love because they're really Suede-y, but I think The Two of Us is a song that, that I'd like to hear somebody else cover that. I think it is a really great song. It's a very it's a really beautiful song that actually, I think a lot of Suede songs sound great lyrically, but when you start to pull them up to pick at them, they kind of maybe are a little bit.
And I think also
don't stand up to scrutiny, but that one, it's like poetry, and the music's fantastic, and the combination is superb. So. Coming up, probably By the Sea.
Oh, yes.
I love that one. And
that was an early one, wasn't it?
yeah, I think. Well, it's funny that the first line of the first album and it's the same as the first line of By the Sea, because as I'm sure everybody who's as big a fan as you knows that Brett was kind of secretly writing on the side in case Bernard left, which turned out to be a good plan. So that was one of those. And I remember Mike Christie, have you heard of Mike Christie?
Yeah.
He was a big kind of friend of the band at that point, and he did the films that went with Dog Man Style. But I remember he would go on about the song Brett kind of did at parties on the piano, which was quite exciting because I didn't realise Brett could play the piano at all then, because there was never any hint of that. Because I don't think Bernard could play the piano when he started joined Suede. I think you can tell, the next life's fairly rudimentary, and then he'd obviously got much better by the next album. So that was exciting to know that Brett was writing on the piano, because then you thought, oh, that gives us a lot of potential for songwriting. He's not just writing the top line and the words. So yes, By the Sea, there we go. That's a long way of answering that question. Head music would be He's Gone.
Oh, I love that.
Which is lovely. I think, again, I think it's not too controversial to say that some of the lyrics on Head Music are a bit slight, shall we say. But He's Gone has got a lot more weight to it, and you probably know that's about one of his friends, isn't it? They died, and it's you can tell that it's really heartfelt and quite moving. So that one, and then where are we? Oh, A New Morning. Oh dear.
Got to choose one.
See,
I love it. But
well, I actually am very fond of A New Morning, but in the same way that you'd probably be fond of your slightly the cat that's got something wrong with it when you have kittens.
Highly fond.
I know. I really like a lot of it, but I'm just trying to think which one. Lost in TV would be the obvious good one from there.
Sending social life. Thanks very much. Thank you. This song's about aftershave.
I think that's a nice song.
Simon.
I really like One Hit to the Body. I don't know why, because it's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like there's much to it, but I just think it's quite nice. It's got a certain kind of real, kind of naive innocence to it. It's not trying too hard. It just is what it is, and I like that one. I don't like Obsessions very much, and I don't really like Positivity very much.
Were you in the video for Obsessions?
I wasn't, because I was doing the door.
But your obsession was in the video.
Oh, my obsession was... Yeah, well, that's because... Yeah, that was kind of an in-joke. So, it was at the Marquee which is now... it's now one of the O2s. It's the O2 Islington now. And it's had loads of names. But when that bit of Angel became a shopping centre, there was a music venue in it, and to start with it was the new Marquee, and the video was set there, and me and a couple of friends were kind of doing the tour. It was all fan club as ever. They were great at using the fans to get involved in videos and stuff like that, and I was doing the door, and one of the things was people had to bring their obsession. So there was people saying, I'm obsessed with the Blair Witch Project, I think was one of them, and I was responsible for compiling this list which would be used, and I, for a joke, just wrote Stephen Fry which I thought would be really just kind of odd in a pop video to have Stephen Fry's name flash up, because at that point he wasn't quite as well known now. It was, it was before QI, and it was kind of after Blackadder had been a big thing, so it just felt really random. I'd throw in there and see if I could get away with it, and then I was kind of embarrassed when it appeared there, but nobody knows. Nobody will ever know it was me who put that in there, so it's fine.
No.
It's fine.
Have you appeared in any Suede videos?
Actually, yes. You can see me in the By the Sea video. No, not By the Sea. Europe is Our Playground.
Oh!
There's a queue outside, I think it's a gig in Paris, and I'm there, and I think that's the only one of the kind of proper videos I'm in, because usually I was being a runner or something, going and getting them hot towels.
What was the weirdest thing they asked for?
I remember, I don't think it was a video, but I remember Brett sending me to get him some Skittles once. That was it was in Old Street, so it wasn't a video, it must have been a interview or a photo shoot. And I remember he said, David, could you go get me some Skittles? What? Is this code? Is this code for something else? But he wanted some Skittles, which seemed very un-Brett-like, but I remember that, yeah. Another story which is kind of related is that there was a time when I had to take the post tour laundry to the laundrette, and I'd actually sprained my ankle quite badly it was around about the time of the ICA, and I'd been pinning up these massive blow-ups of pages from the book, and I fell off of this ledge that was about 10 centimetres high. It was the most embarrassing injury ever. And I managed to really do myself some damage. And so when I had to take the man's laundry to the laundrette, I asked...
Brett's laundry?
Well, I think it was all the band.
Okay.
It might have just been Brett's, I'm not sure. Anyway, I asked one of them, I said, listen, I've got a bit of a gammy leg here. Would you mind taking this to the laundrette? And then one of my friends later on confided to me that he'd stolen one of Brett's socks as a souvenir. I said, was that before or after it got washed? He went, before, obviously. So I would apologise to Brett for him only getting one sock back then.
What was it like in that, like the interview on the big, what is it, a big breakfast and 48s on the sofa, and he's like, oh, showing a sock or something? Like,
But the story. You know the story about the big breakfast. It's in the book,
Yeah.
so I think it's quite well known. I mean, I'm a bit wary about too much dirt, but I think this story is quite well known. That now I can't remember which way round it was, but Brett and Paul were on the bed.
Yeah.
And one of them, I think it was Brett. Was it Brett said to Paula, or maybe the other way around? One of them said, "Would you like an E?" While they were on the bed. I don't know if this was on TV or just getting ready.
Yeah.
And the other one said, "I've already had 5."
I think
it's a combination.
Yeah, maybe it's a combination. Wasn't that the one where
I've got a feeling that was when he that one was one of those times when he had a flight to like Portugal or something.
he didn't want to go.
10 minutes later, and Charlie had to come and drag him by his floppy fringe.
We got to A New Morning.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I forgot. There's some more, isn't there?
Yes.
Sorry. Okay. Well, do we do sci-fi lullabies?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
Brett
yeah.
casts that as an album, so yeah.
Okay. Well,
It's in his top 7 when he
a
did
rather
that.
predictably boring one, but I'd probably say Killing of a Flash Boy. Yeah.
Can I just ask, it's probably a very obvious question, why Sam was omitted?
I don't know. I think it was. I don't think it's a personal slight at you, Sam. I think it's just.
He didn't know me then.
It was that period when, the first CD, they only had 2 B-sides per single. So they were all kind of great, and it was also easy to fit them all on one CD. And by the time of coming up, they were having to release 4 or 5 B-sides every time, so they couldn't all go on. And I think Sam, although it's quite sweet, it's not one of the greats, is it? I mean, apart from the personal, the fact that he wrote a song about you before he even met you, that's pretty incredible.
Amazing. Yeah.
You live on Lancaster Road, and you got a computer, and you go when the library's closed, and sit and think of the future. Oh, son. Oh, son. Oh, son. You're my main man. You got a mom by the name of Anne, and she has got a daughter. And your brother Simon, well, sometimes he gets out of hand, but he looks like John Travolta. Oh, son. Oh, son. Oh, son. You're my main man. Oh, son. Oh, son. Oh, son. You drink tea in a cafe close to me, and sit and read the headline. You don't seem to mind if the social's too unkind, or if you're near the bright line. Oh, son. Oh, son. Oh, son. You're my main man. Oh, son. Oh, son. Oh, son. We'll do
It's amazing.
Yeah, I don't think there's any great reason why it's not on. I mean, it's not like he'd fallen out with Sam or anything like that.
No.
They were still together at that point, I think. So
well, that makes me happy.
yeah. So and Bloodsport. I really like Barriers. I think I would say Barriers because I remember hearing that it was going to be on. I'd not heard any of it, and I remember hearing that Barriers was going to be on the radio and thinking, I bet this is going to be a real load of old crap. And then I did. And then it came on and I was like, that's really good. And then kind of playing it again and again and getting quite excited about it. I don't think it's the best one, but it's the one that I really relate to. I can remember very vividly sitting in my kitchen. I lived in a flat in Archway at that point, and I remember sitting in the kitchen listening to it on my digital radio. And so that's quite it's quite nice to be proven wrong like that, you know?
Yeah.
It was really nice to be proven wrong, actually. And then...
which ones did you do the hand claps on?
Well, I'd like to know.
Okay.
I think it was for the Strangers and... What was the single?
It Starts and Ends?
Yeah, I think it was those two. I'm pretty sure it was those two. But you can't really hear them. But it's a bit like that.
And you did hand claps for something else
yeah,
as well.
That's right. But I did my own. Well, until Bloodsports, the only actual contribution to a Suede recording was I did hand claps on Every Monday Morning Comes, and that was at the Townhouse, or it might have been Master Rock, one of those big studios in West London. And it was me, Brett, I think Matt and Saul and Pete Sissons, I think. Maybe Saul wasn't there. I imagine Saul being there. But it was us doing... And also the engineer, whose name I've forgotten, but it'll be on the credits. And we all did hand claps to that one. And that was quite scary because, you know, you'd think putting your hands together repeatedly to a beat would be simple, but when, you know, Brett's there and you're thinking, I don't want to ruin, this could be the next single. What if I get it wrong and it's my fault it doesn't get in the top 10? Oh God,
Sammy be out.
so it was quite yeah. But that, and I remember then kind of, because there was a while when it was going to be on the album, I think, and then obviously they wrote much better songs than that, and that was kind of disappointing. And then oh, it's a B-side, that's good. And then I remember hearing it and turning it up really at the end, going, I think you can hear me. But you can't really. But it's nice to know, you know. It's nice to know I'm in there somewhere. Yeah, so that's that. And then
Night Thoughts.
What albums? What are you not telling me on?
No, Bloodsport.
Is it? I like that one.
That's my favourite.
That's really good.
On Bloodsport.
And I think probably I don't know which one is When We Are Young or When We Were Young or When They Are Young.
The first one or the second
probably
one?
the first one.
First one, yeah.
That's great. I think again that what I remember about that is going to the Roundhouse and they came on and did that. And again, it was like, bloody hell, this is actually amazing. And I wasn't expecting that. And when they had, you know, the film and everything, it was great. It was really great. It was, I remember, you know, just thinking, this is exactly what I wanted, what Suede should have been doing, you know, 10 years or however long ago it was before. I felt they kind of started off being quite multimedia and arty, you know, stuff like that gig they did with Derek Jarman at the Clapham Grand when they had some of his visuals there, and then they got his team to do the stuff for Belman Star, and then it was, I almost felt when they went all poppy and successful, they kind of lost a little bit of that arty edge, which is fair enough, you know. They wanted to be, they said we want to do a pop album, which is fine, but I was really happy when they went back and did that, because that's what they're good at, you know. They're good at that, and there's not many bands that can pull off something that, you know, is kind of on the edge of being quite pretentious, and I quite like that when it's almost ridiculous, but they get away with it, and that's brilliant. That's that line between, you know, brilliance and madness is where genius lies, I think. That crack.
And what are your expectations for the next album? What would you
Well,
hope?
I think it'll be good. I mean, that's the thing now. I have no doubt it'll be good. You know, I honestly, I don't think that Head Music or A New Morning are bad albums particularly, but they weren't great albums. And I feel that they've got a purpose and they know what they're doing. And I think the good thing is the reasons I think for a lot of the failure of those albums was that they were under a massive amount of pressure to be commercially successful and have hits, have top 10 singles, because they just had 5 top 10 singles. So once you've had 5 top 10 singles, where do you go from there? You know, it's not many people who can top that. And I think, you know, if you look at the Beatles, they had a massive run of number ones, and then they released Strawberry Fields Forever and it only got to number 2, and everybody went, that's a failure, but it wasn't, was it? So I think it'll be good, and I think they'll take their time. I think they've got a lot more quality control, plus they don't need to, you know. They're not on the treadmill before that they were before, where, you know, there's a record company who expects product. You know, we need an LP by this time, and we need this many hits, and you have to make all. They can do whatever they want now. So, and then there's no. It's not like I think the records do reasonably well, but it's not like they're making them millions of pounds or anything. So there's no point in them doing something unless they're actually into it, which is great. You know, maybe not great for them, because I'm sure they'd like to be making millions of pounds, but it's great for us.
Tell us about David Barnett. What are you doing at the moment?
Well, I'm actually just in the process of setting up my own company, which is quite scary, because I just gave up my full-time job a couple of months ago, and I'm doing that. So that is the main thing I'm doing. I'm still doing lots of musical things. This year I'm in this strange anarcho-punk death rock band who were apparently a cult sensation in the early 80s. I'd never heard of them, but we played America and Europe, and that has been fun. And then we kind of split up 2 years ago, but we got back together to do the Rebellion Festival, which is the big massive
Is that part 1?
punk film thing. Yeah, exactly, in Blackpool, and that was really exciting. It was good fun. I'm a regular guitarist with Keith Top of the Pops in his minor UK indie celebrity all-star backing band, which has a lot of other kind of has-beens. Maybe is not very fair. People with an interesting past. So there's people from lots of bands that you'll have heard of there, and it's kind of revolving lineup. But I guess people that would be that Suede fans would know about would be Luke Haynes. He has appeared on several of the records. Then Charlie was in Gay Dad and Salads and bands like that. John Moore, who was with Luke Haynes in Black Box Recorder, who were nude recording artists. He's been on some of them. He plays the saw on one of the records. So that's really exciting. It's really cool because you don't really know who's going to be in the band until you get there, and you'll be like, oh, it's Les from Carter the Unstoppable Sex Machine. That's exciting. Why is he on stage with me? That's fun. And then I've got a new band called Menaces, and we have kind of done an album which I think is coming out this year, hopefully. We're playing in Birmingham on Saturday.
And then
that's our first out of town gig, and we're playing in London soon. And also Luxembourg, which is a band that I joined when their original bass player left. We got back together for somebody's wedding, the drummer's wedding, last year, and we've been asked to play at somebody's 10th wedding anniversary. So it's quite weird that I'm now actually playing the nostalgia circuit. That's quite odd. So there's all that, and there's various other things bubbling under, but I feel like I'm quite busy at the moment.
I think you are.
But I've got,
So where in London are you going to be playing?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Whitechapel? I don't know. It's on the internet. Simply type www.google.com into any web browser and put gigs, Menaces gigs.
In the 2013 interview with, I can't remember who, you said that the original idea for the book was going to be you and Dids in a pub going through your Suede adventures. Do you think that'll ever happen? Because that sounds ideal.
Probably not, because it would have made more sense then. It would have made more sense then, and I suggested it to Dids, and I think he said that would have been really boring. I don't know. But I'm sure. I don't know. I think it would have been fun.
I think it would have been fun.
It would have been interesting for me because obviously that's kind of the next stage. He would know all about that, and then he could have asked me about the bits where I was involved. But I don't know. I think I was really pleased with the way that the new edition came out, and as I say, I think when Brett's book comes out, that means that everything will be covered, hopefully.
Would there be anything you change from the new edition?
Well, it would be nice if the timeline wasn't missing like the most important year in it. That was a bit of annoying.
Who was your proofreader?
Well, that bit, you see, I just added all the extra stuff, so that bit should have all been there, and I don't know what happened to it. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get into a fight with any of my publisher. They're lovely people, but that was a bit annoying.
Have you got your copy yet?
I did get my copy of it. I got 10 eventually.
Did you get paid?
I haven't actually had but it'll just go against the massive. I'm still massively in debt from the first time round. I'm not quite sure why, because it's still quite a lot of copies, but I'm hoping that by the time I retire I'll maybe get 50p from it. I mean, to be fair, I actually found the original invoice and I got £6.5 for writing it, and that's the thing that might be of interest to you guys, is that there was a fee, but there was expenses that came off it. So there was money to Suede's management came off it, and there was money for lawyers to check that there was nothing controversial in it, and there was money for photographs and all sorts of things, boring things like that. But there was also the expenses I put in, so money for mini discs. But there was also breakfast with Bernard Butler. Yeah, and I can't remember the exact amount, but it was something like £16.70. So I probably should have.
Quite reasonable.
I probably should have bought him a bigger breakfast, and maybe he would have spoken to me.
Did he? He didn't speak to you at all, did he? Was it
funny
all
because
off the record?
It was all off the record,
Yeah.
and he was really nice, and it was really nice of him to see me. And I think that I've always said that, as well as being a book about Suede, the original Love and Poison it had two purposes. From my point of view, it was a chance for me to write my autobiography, because nobody's going to be interested in my story ever again. And then the other thing was, it was kind of an open letter from Brett to Bernard, and it was a way of getting them to speak again. And I'm sure they would have, I'm not saying, oh, it was me that got them together, of course not, but it was certainly instrumental in reconnecting the lines of communication, because it was weird to think how they were kind of like these strange entities that would never speak to each other, and now everybody's mates, and it all seems very silly now. By the time, it was kind of like, whoa, he's the Antichrist. And then I met him and I was like, oh, he's nice, what's that all about?
I think we've all got older.
We have, haven't we? And I think that, again, that's the thing, that, as I was saying about Brett's story, it's going to be that nice full circle, and it all turns out nice in the end, and everybody's got a bit older and a bit wiser and bruised along the way, but still wonderfully alive,
In fact, talking of older, Brett turns 50 this year, as you know, this month.
God.
You don't know?
I suppose he does.
Why
yeah.
don't you know? What would you get Brett as a present? The man who probably has everything he wants.
I would probably get him a spare sock.
Oh,
to make up for the missing one. Yeah.
Would you get him a pair of pliers?
No, I never understood the pliers business, but they found it hilarious.
And his lordship.
Sort of do, they sing, like an old pair of pliers, like a new pair of pliers, and all this kind of stuff. Why are you talking about pliers? That's not funny. So.
Oh, could you sing us the Benson and Hedges song? Wasn't there a Benson and Hedges song? But there is one, isn't there?
There was, yeah. Well, that wasn't them. That was us in the office taking the mick out of Neil, because whenever he came into the office, there was this really strange guy in a fur coat that was. I think he had long hair when we first met him, and he had terrible acne, and he came in and he would just shake and smoke constantly. And Charlie would give him like an envelope full of cash, and we'd be like, "Who is this guy?" He just kind of floats in like an apparition and goes away with a brown envelope. And then the next thing we knew, he was on stage at the Hanover Grand, and he'd been transformed from this kind of strange rake into this beautiful vision. With he had blonde hair then, and he wasn't even really playing the keyboard or anything. He was standing there looking gorgeous and singing and kind of sucking his cheeks, and it was great.
Didn't you first meet him, was it on a train or was it in Hull?
That's right.
On a train to Hull?
You've done your homework, haven't you, Sam? That's really impressive. I completely forgotten about it. I actually met him. He was on a train to Hull, and I don't know what I was doing going to Hull. It must have been connection. I got to see them in Sheffield. It was on the first tour when Richard had just joined, and I saw them in Sheffield. And I remember, the exciting thing for me about the Sheffield gig was I was wearing a newish pair of shoes, which Matt took a shine to. And he was, "Where did you get your shoes from, David?" And I said, "I got them from Shoe, SCHUH, which was a shop." I don't know if it still is.
Yeah.
Does it?
Yeah.
I got a lot of good shoes from there, and Matt was really excited about them and tried them on and went, "Charlie, can I get 50 quid to buy a pair of shoes like David?" And I was, again, this was another of those moments thinking, "Oh my God, Matt Osmond has tried on my shoe. This is it, I've arrived." And he did. That was the great thing. The next time I saw him, he had he had a pair of shoes just like mine, so that was quite exciting. But I remember on the way back, I ended up sitting opposite this guy on the train, and I recognised him from the gig. And I said, "Oh, you were at the after show last night, Suede, weren't you?" I said, how nosy? How did you get in? Who are you then? Who the hell are you? And he said, "Oh, I'm Simon's cousin." Ooh. So that was when I met him. And he definitely had long hair then. I think he was quite fat. It was weird, yeah. I mean, I don't want to be sizist or anything, but
No.
you know, compared to how the popular vision of him, he looked different.
Did he have a beard, moustache?
He didn't have a beard. No, he's had that since, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
He's been through a lot of looks.
He has.
But you know,
His current look, the best.
he's coming at his best, is he?
Yeah,
I've seen
with his
him for
hair,
ages.
long hair. They're playing next week.
Are they?
Green Cafe. They're playing London and then Colston Hall in Bristol.
Do you know the interesting thing about the Penguin Cafe Orchestra is that Simon Jeffs wrote the instrumental score for Sid Vicious's version of My Way.
No, didn't
That's
know
an
that.
exciting fact,
Wow,
isn't it?
that is
That's an
exciting.
exciting fact. So there you go.
For the latest Insatiable Ones podcast, we're at the legendary Bull and Gate in conversation with David Barnett with Sam Bex. Britt Andersen's Cold Black Mornings, available 3rd of March. Pre-order now from waterstones.com.